Hello everybody, it's time for the daily review, so let's see what's going on in Arena. As you can tell, I haven't had a chance to play many white or blue spells, but that's okay, and I'm going to try and trade this one in. Oh well. I guess if I play mono white, I could get both these at the same time, so that would be pretty good. Okay, so far we got Premier Draft Dominaria, which I don't think is worth it. Jumpstart, which totally is. Quick Draft Theros Beyond Death, which is also really good. And F&M Pauper is coming up tomorrow. So if you want, I do have a video for F&M Pauper, so to show you some Pauper decks that can actually be successful. So definitely take a look at that, and I'll try and throw a link in the description. All right, I think that is about it. Let's go see what's going on in the store. Okay, so in the store, are these sleeves? Oh, well, okay. Sleeves are sometimes good, depending if you really like them or not. So let's go check it out. Daily deals. 2,000 gold for Theros Stargazing Thassa sleeves. Okay, so as for the card styles, don't get the card styles. Those are a rip-off. But if you do like the sleeves, then I'd say they're okay, mainly because you can actually keep using sleeves over and over again, right? They don't cycle out, so you can keep using that, so I'd say, if you like it, then sure, but keep in mind that 2000 is the same as 2 packs, right? Or it could be one entry into Jumpstart, which could be 2 packs and then 2 additional rares. So, you have to consider, is your collection substantial enough that, you don't have to really care about the 2000 gold, and that, that you can actually build this up. And keep in mind that the new Zendikar set is coming up soon, and you might want to bank that. But if you got like a pretty good amount of gold and, or gems or whatever, then this is not a terrible investment to put into the game. Okay, and I think that is about it, right? So, yeah. Okay, so the only other thing I want to talk about today is the banned and restricted announcement that came out, I believe it was yesterday, may have been the day before, and this is specific to Brawl. Alright, so what they did is they actually banned Ruined Halo and Gideon's Intervention, right? So why would they ban those things, right? Well, okay, and it's only in Brawl. Okay, Ruined Halo I don't think is that big of a deal. Okay, so what Ruined Halo says is it's 2 white to cast, it's an enchantment. It says as Ruined Halo comes into play, name a card. You have protection from that card, so meaning you can't be targeted, dealt damage, or enchanted by anything with that name. Now, what this is kind of a shutdown card in a way, and it's important to also keep in mind that it's not legendary, so you can actually have 4 of these out, and I guess with the Spark Double you could copy it as well. If it is, I forget if Spark Double can copy enchantments, but there's things that can copy enchantments as well, right? But nonetheless, the reason why they're banning this in Brawl is because it basically can shut down your opponent's commander. Now, let me know in the comments, what do you think about it? Like, do you think that it's too much, like, to shut down an opponent's commander like that? I actually think that it's not. Okay, and here's my reasoning. Okay, is that I personally really hate one-trick pony type decks. All right, like decks that have like just only one win condition and that's it, right? And I think that like fine, it's fine. Like if you want to play like a good example of this is the treasure hunt deck, zombie hunt, where all you're doing is playing 4 treasure hunts, 2 zombie infestations, and then all just lands, right? That's fine. It's a super cheap deck and it's a little bit fun to play. I find it to get boring after a while, but after and I have the deck, but you have to accept the risk that if you're running like a one-trick pony, that your opponent could shut you down, right? So if you're, so if your opponent names like, a certain card and that's all you have, that's your whole win condition, then, then that's too bad for you, right? And you need to build your deck to be a little more versatile than that, right? And, that's the same thing. It's the same thing as if you're running mono red burn, right? Like not red deck wins with the creatures, but just straight up burn, like all lightning bolts and shocks and stuff like that, right? And your opponent sideboards in a Leyline of Sanctity, right? And you just can't be targeted by things anymore. Well, okay, then you just lost the game, right? Like like that's the risk of running a deck like that. And so I think that, I don't really have a problem with Ruined Halo because it only targets one card, right? So it's just one card name, and if your deck is substantial enough, you should be able to get around that, right? Now, Gideon's Intervention, on the other hand, is a similar enchantment that costs 2 and 2 white, so 4 mana total, and it is also not legendary. It says, as Gideon's Intervention enters the battlefield, choose a card name. Your opponents can't cast spells with the chosen card name, okay, but then prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and permanents you control by sources with the chosen name. Now, this one also, okay, I can understand not having this in Commander or in Brawl, and the reason why is because it doesn't let your opponent cast their commander, right? So, okay, in the spirit of fun, if you can't cast your commander, then what's the point of playing Commander, right? So, I get it. Right. The other thing is that, I don't really care about the second part where it says prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and permanents you control by that. That's fine, because a lot of times with the commander, you just want their static abilities or their activated abilities, right? So if you have a commander that says let's say, what's her name? Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, is your commander, right? Well, this actually doesn't stop her from having her natural ability, right? That every non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast or something like that, right? So it makes it so that she's still useful, but the fact that you can't cast her at all makes it a problem. Right, so the second part, I think if it was just the second part, then I'd say it's okay. But the whole point is that if you can't cast your commander at all, then yeah, that's kind of not fun, and it's kind of missing the point of having commander. Another example of this is the card called Hinder, right? So Hinder is 1 mana and 2 blue instant, and it's basically a counter spell. It says counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put that card on the top or bottom of its owner's library instead of into that player's graveyard. Now, before they actually changed the rules of Commander to say that if you ever left the battlefield, you could go back to the command zone. But it used to be that you could actually use Hinder. So if your opponent tried to cast their commander, you could counter it and then put it on the bottom of your opponent's library, right? And so basically, it would take their commander out of the command zone and stick it in the library at the bottom and make it so they just couldn't cast their commander anymore. And so yeah, it's a pain in the ass when that happens, right? And it makes it so it's just not fun, because then you just can't cast your commander anymore. So again, I can understand why a card like Hinder would get banned, or not banned, but they just changed the rules around it. So if you do cast Hinder, it's fine, but then your commander just goes back into the graveyard or back into the command zone. So yeah, I mean, overall, I could see the reason why those 2 cards, Gideon's Intervention and Ruined Halo, would be banned. I don't think Ruined Halo was nearly as bad as Gideon's Intervention, only because Gideon's Intervention stopped you from casting your commander in the first place, whereas Ruined Halo just gave you protection from the commander. And so, I mean, I personally think that it's fine. If you have a commander and that's the only way you can win is just through the commander, well, that was something you should have known when you built your deck, right? If your opponent can shut that down, right, then, well, that's too bad. A lot of decks have vulnerabilities like that, okay? So for instance, my favorite deck is Mill, right, in Modern. Right, so when you're playing Modern Mill, you got to recognize that if your opponent just happens to be playing Eldrazi Titans, right, or they got something like that, or a Gaia's Blessing or something like that, you're gonna have a really hard time winning. Or if they have Leyline of Sanctity or something like that, where they can't be targeted, right? Well, you have to have ways of working around that. Otherwise you just scoop, and you just saw you lost the game. So, anyways, let me know what you think. Do you think that these cards, that those 2 should have been banned in Brawl? Or do you think they should have been kept, or one or the other? All right, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.